Hello, my name's Aidan Kelly. I'm here to give you a short talk on money management. I'm a SUS Plus mentor at Southwest College in Omagh. My contact details are 077 3428 1029. Money management is important for so many reasons, but one of the first things that we're going to look at is the idea of setting up a budget. It's the first step to taking control of your finances. It does take a wee bit of effort, but it is worth it in the long run. Setting up a budget allows you to prevent going into debt. It allows you to minimize any unexpected costs. It allows you to build up a good credit rating. It's also if you manage your money, if you manage a budget, excuse me, it's more likely that you will be accepted for a loan or mortgage. It also helps you to be able to identify areas where you can make savings. Speaking for myself, there's so many times whenever I did take a look at the money that I was spending, I spent money on a lot of things that made a certain amount of impact in my life, but definitely costed an awful lot of money. And when you weighed up the cost of what they were and how much money was being used, it certainly wasn't worth it. It also puts you in a good position to save up for things like a holiday, new car, etc. First thing you're going to need is a budgeting tool. And one of the budgeting tools that I'm aware of is the Money Advice Service Budget Planner tool. And on the screen here, I've got a short, I've got the link to that particular site. And it looks like this here. It allows you to look at your bills and then have a breakdown of your bills and see where it is that you're spending your money. And frequently you will get a few surprises about how much money is being spent on each different category of expense. You want to start looking at things like your household bills, your living costs, financial products. You might have insurance, it could be car insurance, house insurance. You might also be spending money on family and friends, presents, and so on. Travel, the cost of getting to and from work, and also leisure costs as well. Grab as much information as you can, and the best thing to do is to get a hold of your bank statement and go through that. Look at everything that's on your bank statement and make sure that you have accounted for it in these different categories. And you may well have other additional categories as well. But it is so important to get a good, clear idea of what it is you're spending your money on and how much money is being spent on the different areas. One of the things that you can do with these budgeting tools as well is save your information, come back to it. Money can be a bit of a dry topic, but in the long run, we do need money to be able to buy the things that we need to meet the different needs that we have and so on. So it's important that we make best use of the money that we have. And as I've said, I have a personal preference for the Money Advice Service Budget Planner. My main reason for that is that it's excuse me, the Money Management Service is a government organisation, so they're an independent organisation set up by the government. Their budget planner looks like this. You're putting in your information. It's giving you an idea of how your costs, what your costs are, how they're broken down. And it allows you to identify some tips about how to save money as well. It's a good idea to have a spending diary, to take a look, take a note of everything that you're spending money on over a period of They say here a month, but I would at least do a week or two. Basically, keep a record of everything that you're spending your money on. Get everyone involved in your household in doing this. Money comes out of all areas of the household, so it's important to get a good picture of where the money is being spent. It's also a good idea whenever we're cutting back or taking a look at what we're spending our money on, that we come up with a plan, but it's a plan that's realistic and we can stick to. Okay, and that we have a good idea of how much money is available, and that we do come up with an agreement about how much money will be spent on the different categories and different costs that we'd have. Household bills, we can take a look at things like reducing home, phone, and broadband bill, the mobile phone bill, cheaper gas and electricity. If we shop around, you'd be surprised how much you can save in that way. Taking a look at how much our transport costs are. Taking a look at our subscriptions. Do we actually use, for example, the Netflix account that we have a subscription for that's costing us £12 a month or whatever it might be? And the last thing we have in there, are we paying the bills on time? If we're not paying the bills on time, we may be incurring additional costs, additional bills that can just add to our difficulties. So it's important to take a look at all of these aspects here for household bills. Phone and broadband, call a supplier, ask for a better price. All they can do is say no, and you might be surprised how quickly they will actually make some sort of an offer to you. Use a price comparison website to find a better deal. It's also a good idea, and we'll be looking at some comparison sites later on in this video. Matching your contract to your lifestyle. In other words, looking to see, we have a contract, it's giving us an awful lot of data, and maybe it's the case, for our mobile phone, we're not using an awful lot of data, so we might be spending money on something that we're not actually using. So it's a good idea to take a look at that. And as I mentioned, there are quite a few price comparison websites, and I've just given some details here at the moment. Mobile phone. A lot of the mobile phone companies will be keen to work with you to getting a bill that works for you. They are a business. They want to make sure that they're getting paid. So they want customers who are going to be responsible, and they want to work with you to come up with a bill, with a plan that meets what you need. It's in their interests and in yours. A lot of the mobile phone companies will have online tools to analyze your usage, and they will come up with a plan that kind of meets that particular usage profile. You can also contact them directly, negotiate with them, and use, as we said earlier, the price comparison website. Gas and electricity. Our utility companies are very keen on they can be very competitive with each other. So it is worth taking a look from one utility company to the other. Think about things like paperless billing and direct debit payments. All these different features can reduce your bill. It might only be by 1%, but 1% of an annual bill of £800 is something. It's better than nothing. Consider collective switching as well. A lot of the times, if you're going on to Martin Lewis or other sites like that, you'll find that there are offers excuse me, that allow you to switch as part of a larger group. The larger group is then buying power, and that will allow you to get a better deal. For example, I am a member of a group in the Republic of Ireland where I am called DCA Warriors, and O2 give DC members of my group DCA Warriors a discount for signing up with them. So this is the idea of collective switching. Transport, shopping around for the car insurance. Car insurance prices can be quite different from one company to the other, and it definitely is worth taking a look around. Having keeping an eye on fuel suppliers. At the end of the day, you could save upwards of 10p a litre by just keeping an eye out on who is the most the cheapest providers of petrol or diesel or whatever it is. Booking things in advance as well helps to keep the price of transport down. Paying your bills on time. That could be by doing it by a direct debit mechanism, keeping a record of payments and planning ahead, knowing that your next electricity bill is going to occur in 2 months' time, or your next oil payment, the next delivery of oil is going to be in approximately 6 months' time. So you're going to be facing maybe another £250 out of the blue at that stage. To just be aware of what's coming ahead of you. Talk to the people that you owe money to if you are struggling. The average organisation that you might be owing money to are going to be delighted to hear from you. What they don't want is for you to avoid them. And we've seen that in the SUS office countless times. People have come in with middle to serious debt, and we've helped them to get speaking to their creditors, and the creditors have been very, very happy to work with them. The logic is better to get the money eventually than not get the money. So it is definitely good sense to talk to the people that you owe money to. Set up the credit card to pay off at least the minimum amount every month, and it is possible to do that. Loans and credit cards. If you have loans or you owe money on credit cards, it usually makes sense to pay off the debt that charges the highest rate of interest first. Things, for example, like credit cards or store cards or personal loans. It's good to take a look at that. It's also good to maybe take a look at your loans and see. Sometimes you will get a credit card balance transfer offer, whereby if you basically take out the credit card, they will give you 6 months of no interest, and that can give you that holiday, that small break, to enable you to get your debts under control. And that's what we've mentioned here. Good ideas. Transferring your existing credit card debts to a new credit card offering 0% interest. For example, it's usually for the first 6 months. It gives you that bit of breathing space. But as I said, the debt is still there. Do not ignore the debt. Use the 6 months to get your debt payment strategy in place. Okay. It's important to make sure that you don't break the terms of your agreements. It's very, very important. Pay off. Usually the main term is that minimum amount that you have to pay. Okay. And also take a look, if you have a loan agreement, are there any fees that you might have to pay if you pay it off early? It's worth, whenever you're taking out a loan, just to take a look at that small print. debt emergencies. In my eyes, there's two types of people that come in with debt. Excuse me. You have a person who has a minor issue. If they do nothing about it, it's going to become a debt emergency. So if the person comes in and they work on controlling this debt and overcoming it, you have that type of person. And you also have someone who just comes in who has a massive amount of debt. And usually the debt organizations that we're aware of, they have a two-form strategy. One of it is to give advice to the people who can see debt becoming a problem down the road. They want to help that person to avoid that scenario. But you also have the person who is facing massive, overwhelming debt, and most of the debt management organizations will have a method of working with these people as well. The first category, there's not an urgency there, so there's not as much of an urgency. So perhaps for that group of people, it might be about getting the person to come in the next week, get to talk to them about creating good money management routines and practice. And then you have the person who is in severe difficulty and they really need to be seen to there and then. And the debt organisations have ways of dealing with both of these people. From our experience, there's locally in Omagh, you have the Omagh Independent Advice Services, and their details are on the screen here at the moment. They're available pretty much Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And Omagh Independent Advice Services are able to provide immediate or urgent debt help, but they're also able to provide ongoing help to help you prevent your financial difficulties become a catastrophe. The Money Advice Service is another organisation. I've mentioned that they're an independent organisation, excuse me, funded by the government, and they have several methods by which you can get in touch with them, and they're mentioned on this slide. Court. If you're seeing that your debt issues have reached the court stage, it's important that you turn up at the court hearing. It gives you the chance to come to an agreement. If you don't go, a decision could be made not taking into account your situation, your circumstances. If you're at court, you can tell the court your case. You can tell them what's happening, what you can do to resolve your difficulties. If you're not there, you're dependent on the court to take a sympathetic view. You've categories of debt. You've priority debt, non-priority debt, and debt emergencies. Priority debts are debts that carry the most serious consequences if you don't pay them. For example, not paying a court fine, rates bill, TV licence, child maintenance, utility bills, income tax, national insurance, VAT, mortgage, rent, and any loans secured against your home. The consequences of not paying these priority debts could be perhaps a visit from the bailiffs, a court summons, having your heating or your lighting cut off due to unpaid bills, bankruptcy, losing your home. So it is so important for these priority debts to be addressed. And as I've said earlier, that initial contact, all you really need is that initial contact, and that will definitely help. Okay, If the organisation sees you engaging with them, they will take a sympathetic view. You have non-priority debts, things such as overdrafts, personal loans, money borrowed from friends or family, credit card, store card debts, payday loans, catalogue, home credit, or in-store debts. Pay at least the minimum payment for these non-priority debts so that you don't fall behind. Try to target the most expensive debt first. For example, the credit card loan might be charging an interest rate of 25%. You might want to tackle that before you start addressing the loan that's maybe charging 5%. Check that you won't be charged any penalty or default charges for overpaying. Also, think about setting up a savings goal. We've talked about the managing debt, and really whenever we're starting to think about savings goal, the savings goal might be something that we try whenever we get the debt issues under control. Think about maybe an emergency fund. For example, who knows when our heating system is going to conk out and we have an unexpected bill, or when the washing machine breaks down. So it's important to start thinking about building up an emergency fund or a one-off expenses fund. Try to build up maybe 3 months worth of expenses and use this as a target to aim for. It might not be easy to reach this target, but set it as your target. Okay? Pay some money into a savings account every month or every week, and that way you hardly even notice the money go down. Okay? As we've said, set up an emergency fund, a one-off expenses fund. Maybe even if there's money available there, increasing your pension contributions. In the longer run, that will see your pension becoming significantly bigger. Creating an investment plan. These are all number 3 and number 4 maybe are things where you'd want to talk to a financial advisor about to get more detailed help. If you're overwhelmed, the last thing you should be doing is burying your head in the sand. In this video, we have 2 different organisations that can help. If I think of OMA, I can think of another 3 organisations at least off just here now that would help out with debt. The worst thing you could do is to ignore the issue. Once you've done this, once you've opened all the different letters that you've been ignoring, you can start to make up your plan. In addition to this, it's worth taking a look at this service called Make the Call. They will talk to you and see if you're entitled to any additional benefits or supports. It's a free service and it's definitely worth the call. That's the end of my presentation. My name is Aidan Kelly. Please do not hesitate to give me a ring on 077 3428 1029. Thank you.